A 120-pound Pitbull was pulled from a fighting ring with cigarette burns on his back and bite wounds across his chest. They said he couldn't be rehabilitated. They gave him 5 days. But one woman drove 3 hours, sat on his kennel floor for 45 minutes, and took him home. What this dog did 14 months later on a frozen highway at 11:47 p.m. is the reason she's alive today. Jax was seized during a federal raid on an illegal fighting operation in southern Georgia. 17 dogs were recovered from that property. Some were chained to car axles in the yard. Some were locked in plywood boxes with air holes drilled into the sides. Jax was found in the basement, muzzled with electrical tape, standing in a cage so small he couldn't turn around. He was 22 months old. He had bite wounds across his chest, a chunk missing from his right ear, and cigarette burns along his back where handlers had agitated him before fights. Of the 17 dogs rescued, 11 were deemed rehabilitatable. Jax was not one of them. His behavioral assessment read, extreme fear aggression, unpredictable around humans, not recommended for rehoming. He was transferred to a high-kill shelter in Alabama. He was given 5 days. Lauren was a veterinary technician in Birmingham. She had seen fighting dogs before. She had helped treat them, stabilize them, and watched most of them get sent back to shelters that couldn't keep them. But when a colleague forwarded Jax's intake photo, something stopped her. It wasn't his scars. It wasn't his size. It was his eyes. They weren't angry, they weren't aggressive, they were empty, like someone had taken everything from him and left nothing behind. Lauren drove 3 hours to the shelter on a Wednesday morning. The staff told her she was making a mistake. "This one's different," the intake coordinator said. "He doesn't respond to people. He doesn't wag. He doesn't eat from hands. He just sits in the corner and shakes." Lauren asked to see him anyway. When they opened the kennel door, Jax pressed himself into the far wall. His whole body trembled. His ears were flat. His tail was tucked so tight it disappeared. Lauren sat on the concrete floor, 4 feet away, and didn't move. She didn't speak. She didn't reach out. She just sat there for 45 minutes. Jax didn't come closer, but he stopped shaking. That was enough. Lauren signed the papers. The shelter coordinator shook his head. "I hope you know what you're getting into." Lauren looked at Jax, still pressed against the wall, still trembling. He's not dangerous. He's terrified. There's a difference. The first 3 months were the hardest thing Lauren had ever done. Jax wouldn't enter a room if she was already in it. He ate only at night, when the house was dark and silent. He slept under the bed, not on it, not beside it, underneath it, pressed against the wall like he was trying to disappear. Loud noises sent him into a panic. A dropped plate once made him hide in the bathroom for 6 hours. Lauren didn't push. She didn't force. She left food. She spoke softly. She existed in the same space and asked for nothing, week after week after week. Then one night in month 4, Lauren was sitting on the kitchen floor eating takeout. She felt something warm press against her knee. She looked down. Jax had walked across the room and placed his head against her leg. But his head was on her knee. That was the night everything changed. I see you still haven't subscribed. That honestly breaks my heart. Hit subscribe now. You need to see what comes next. From that night on, Jax started choosing her. He started sleeping beside the bed instead of under it. By month 6, he was on the couch with her every evening, his massive chocolate head resting on her lap. The dog they said couldn't be saved was learning to love. Here's something most people don't know about pit bulls. The aggression people associate with them isn't bred in, it's beaten in. And Jax was living proof that it could be undone. 14 months after Lauren brought him home on a Friday night in January, everything almost ended. Lauren was driving home from a late shift on Highway 31. It was 11:47 p.m. Black ice. Her car hit a patch doing 55 and spun across 2 lanes. She slammed into a guardrail on the passenger side. The airbag deployed. The windshield cracked. Lauren's head hit the side window and everything went dark. Jax was in the back seat. The impact threw him against the door. The rear window shattered. Jax could have run. Any dog could have run. A former fighting dog, scared of loud noises, terrified of chaos, every instinct should have told him to bolt through that broken window and disappear into the darkness. He didn't. Jax climbed into the front seat. He positioned his body over Lauren's chest. He started barking, not the scared whimpers Lauren had heard for months, deep, thunderous, relentless barking that echoed across the empty highway. A truck driver passing 2 minutes later saw the wreck and heard the barking. He called 911. When paramedics arrived, they found a 120-pound pit bull standing over an unconscious woman, barking at anyone who approached. It took a paramedic 4 minutes to calmly get close enough for Jax to step aside. He didn't leave. He sat 3 feet away and watched every single thing they did. The paramedics said Lauren had a severe concussion and hypothermia was already setting in. They said in those temperatures, unconscious on an empty highway, 20 more minutes could have been fatal. A story like this deserves to be heard. If it moved you, you already know what to do. When Lauren woke up in the hospital, the first thing she asked was, "Where's Jax?" Her neighbor had picked him up from the scene. When she came home 2 days later, Jax was sitting by the front door. He didn't jump. He didn't bark. He walked over, placed his head against her leg exactly like that first night on the kitchen floor, and didn't move. Lauren sank to the floor and held him. She held the dog the world had written off, the dog who climbed over broken glass and stood in freezing darkness to make sure she wasn't alone. "You trained to fight," she whispered, "but you chose to protect." Today, Jax is 4. He still flinches sometimes when a door slams. He still won't eat if a stranger is in the house. The scars on his chest will never fully heal. But every evening, he's on that couch, his head on Lauren's lap, his tail doing that slow, steady wag that took 4 months to earn. The dog they said was broken learned to love, and the woman who refused to walk away learned what loyalty really means. Because sometimes the most dangerous thing in the world isn't a pit bull, it's giving up on one. Would you adopt a dog from a fighting ring, or is the past too much to overcome? Have you ever rescued a dog that rescued you right back? Tell me in the comments.